I'm just gonna keep this short and simple. I've never self-proclaimed to be Michael Jackson's son. It is true I did a DNA test, but this is not anything, had nothing to do with any of this.
He has Michael's smile, his voice, even his moves, and for years, people have asked the same haunting question. Is B. Howard really the king of pop's secret son?
What else is more important than the music? Like, with or without Michael Jackson or my mother. I mean, just like, without that, who am I? I'm still a talented person. When people found out it was me, I got a hard time because my family.
Now a DNA test has surfaced. The results are explosive. But what followed was even more shocking. B. Howard has walked away from it all. What was in that test? And why would he vanish when he had everything to gain? The truth may leave you questioning everything. The shadow he never chose. Brandon Howard, known professionally as B. Howard, stepped into the music scene with a quiet yet undeniable presence. As an R&B singer, songwriter, and producer, he steadily built a respectable career, working on notable projects like Ne-Yo's In My Own Words and Face Off by Omarion and Bow Wow. His work spoke for itself, revealing a deep understanding of melody, rhythm, and emotional resonance. Howard's musical touch often blended classic soul elements with modern production techniques, giving his sound a fresh but timeless feel. Slowly but surely, he carved out a name for himself within the industry, one rooted in talent, not theatrics. But as his career blossomed, something else began to overshadow the music. Fans and critics alike couldn't ignore the uncanny qualities about him. His voice had a gentle, breathy softness that evoked memories of another legendary figure. His dance moves, precise, expressive, and fluid, carried a rhythm and grace that seemed almost too familiar. More than anything, it was his facial features, his eyes, the structure of his jaw, and certain signature expressions that sparked intense curiosity. People started asking the question everywhere he went. Is he connected to Michael Jackson? Could he possibly be related to the king of pop? These whispers became louder than the applause at times. Even those unfamiliar with his music felt drawn in, not just by his talent, but by the mystery. Some referred to him as a natural performer, someone born for the stage. His stage presence had an electricity that captivated audiences and reminded them of the same magic they once saw in Michael. His movements, no matter how subtle, carried the same sharp precision and effortless style that once mesmerized millions. Yet, through it all, Brandon never made any effort to mimic anyone. He was not a tribute act. He didn't build his identity around the resemblance or try to ride the wave of speculation. Instead, he kept his focus on the craft. He honed his skills as a producer, collaborating with respected names and building a body of work that reflected his unique voice. His music, while soulful and emotive, had its own rhythm, message, and mood. Behind the curtain, he was deeply involved in the creative process, earning quiet respect from those who truly understood the industry. Still, the comparisons never stopped. No matter how original his songs were, the world kept projecting Michael's image onto him. His speaking tone, his mannerisms, even the way he stood or laughed. But Brandon rarely addressed the rumors. He never confirmed or denied anything. Instead, he remained grounded, letting the music speak louder than the noise. He refused to use the speculation as a marketing tool or a shortcut to fame. For Brandon, the resemblance was never a strategy. It was simply part of his reality, something he didn't ask for and never tried to use to his advantage. While others might have leaned into the attention, he took a different path. He chose integrity over curiosity, authenticity over spectacle. And though the world kept trying to place him in someone else's shadow, Brandon continued moving forward, quietly, powerfully, on a path that was entirely his own. All these speculations and doubts gave birth to a strange and bizarre theory, one that would soon take on a life of its own, spreading through whispers, headlines, and curious minds across the world. The Billie Jean Theory. This theory is centered around the idea that the hit 1983 song Billie Jean was not merely a fictional story, as Michael had claimed, but rather a hidden message tied to Brandon's birth. This idea began to spread online and in tabloids, largely driven by speculation and scattered details that seemed to suggest a deeper truth. At the heart of the theory was the belief that the song's lyrics, which tell the story of a woman claiming the singer fathered her child, were more than coincidence. Fans suggested that Billie Jean was actually based on a real person named Brenda, who they believed to be Miki Howard. Adding more fuel to the theory was the claim that Miki Howard, Brandon's mother, was sometimes called Billie in the music industry. This nickname, when placed alongside the title Billie Jean, created an eerie connection that many fans were quick to latch onto. They began drawing parallels between the song's narrative and the mystery surrounding Brandon's paternity. In the song, Michael sings, "Billie Jean is not my lover. The kid is not my son," a denial that fans found suspicious when placed in the context of Brandon's existence. People started pointing to the timing. Billie Jean was released in 1983. Brandon Howard was born in 1981. This overlap became another pillar of the theory. Combined with Brandon's striking resemblance to Michael, fans and writers on social media began suggesting that the pop star had used music to cover up a real-life situation. Social media threads, YouTube commentary videos, and entertainment blogs picked up the theory and helped it spread rapidly. The tabloids, always eager to explore Jackson-related mysteries, published timelines, side-by-side photos, and theories from anonymous sources. Some pointed out that Joe Jackson, Michael's father, had managed Miki Howard in the 1980s, suggesting that the two families had close contact during the time of Brandon's conception. Despite all the growing attention, Brandon remained silent. Known for being private and reserved, he did not confirm or deny any of the speculation. For years, he kept his focus on his music and avoided media questions about his possible connection to Michael Jackson. But as the theory continued to circulate and media pressure increased, Brandon eventually found himself at the center of a controversy he had never asked for. What began as fan speculation had grown into a worldwide fascination, all based on a single song and a set of assumptions. The shockwaves of this theory had not even settled when another bombshell dropped, one far more shocking and intense than anything the Billie Jean theory had stirred up. The DNA bombshell that backfired. In 2014, the whispers and rumors surrounding Brandon Howard's identity exploded into headlines when a shocking claim was made, one that seemed to confirm the most talked-about theory. A Beverly Hills dentist named Dr. Joseph Goodman held a press conference and announced that Brandon Howard had taken a DNA test that showed a 99.9% probability of being a match with Michael Jackson. This announcement was not made quietly. It was delivered in a highly publicized event streamed through filmon.com. Dr. Goodman claimed that the DNA sample from Brandon had been compared to genetic material allegedly recovered from a dental device once owned by Michael Jackson. He declared the results showed an almost perfect match. This statement sent a wave of excitement and confusion across the internet. Social media platforms, news websites, and gossip blogs lit up with headlines suggesting that the long-standing question of Brandon's paternity had finally been answered. Many fans believed this was the confirmation they had been waiting for. The resemblance, the song theories, the connection to Mickey Howard, suddenly, it all seemed to come together. Brandon himself responded quickly. He confirmed that he had voluntarily given a DNA sample, but he also made it clear that he had nothing to do with organizing the press conference. He stated that he had not contacted TMZ or any other media outlet, nor was he planning any legal action against the Jackson estate. He distanced himself from the spectacle, saying he was not looking to profit from the situation. But as quickly as the excitement grew, it all began to unravel. Journalists started to dig deeper into the claims, and the credibility of the test came under intense scrutiny. TMZ, a platform often involved in Jackson family reporting, released a story calling the DNA results questionable. They pointed out that the lab allegedly involved in the test was untraceable. No one could confirm its name, location, or any prior professional background in DNA testing. Then came an even more bizarre twist. Observers noticed that the lab logo shown during the announcement had not come from a medical facility at all. Instead, it was traced to merchandise associated with the movie Terminator Salvation. This discovery raised immediate red flags and led many to believe the entire event had been staged or manipulated to appear scientific when it was not. Estate lawyers representing the Jackson family also stepped forward. They publicly dismissed the claim and labeled it a fraud. They stated that the Jackson estate had no involvement in the test and had not provided any of Michael Jackson's DNA. Legal experts and commentators supported this view, saying that without proper chain of custody and verified sources, the test could not be considered reliable. What began as a possible breakthrough quickly collapsed into controversy. The press conference that had promised clarity instead deepened the confusion. Rather than confirming anything, it raised more questions about who had arranged the event and why. Brandon, once again, found himself in the center of a storm he had not created. The public demand for answers continued, but he chose not to engage further. The DNA claim that had been framed as the final piece of the puzzle turned out to be one of the most questioned and criticized moments in the entire saga. The DNA bombshell did not prove anything. It backfired, damaging the credibility of those who promoted it and pulling Brandon further into a mystery he had never asked to be part of. This all made fans and journalists even more curious to dig deeper, hoping to uncover more about his life, especially his childhood. But instead of finding clear answers, their search only uncovered more surprises. A childhood wrapped in secrets. Brandon Howard's childhood was anything but ordinary. Raised by the Grammy-nominated singer Mickey Howard, his early years were filled with music, glamour, and whispered questions that no one ever answered out loud. From the start, Brandon's world was centered around some of the most influential figures in the music industry. He grew up backstage, surrounded by sound checks, rehearsals, flashing lights, and legendary voices. But while the music played on, another part of his life remained a quiet mystery: his father's identity. Mickey Howard, his mother, was a powerful and soulful voice in the R&B and jazz world. She began her music career in the early 1980s, gaining recognition for her emotional depth and classic vocal style. Mickey's rise to fame was marked by her smooth blend of contemporary R&B and traditional jazz influences. Her breakthrough came when she joined the group Side Effect, where she first caught the attention of industry insiders. However, it was her solo career that truly showcased her artistry. In 1986, Mickey released her debut solo album titled Come Share My Love, which featured the hit single of the same name. The song reached the top 10 on the Billboard R&B chart and introduced her as a rising star. Her next albums only increased her popularity. The 1988 album Love Confessions included more successful tracks like Baby, Be Mine, and That's What Love Is, the latter featuring vocal powerhouse Gerald Levert. The chemistry between Miki and Levert on this duet became one of her signature musical moments. By 1989, Miki had released the self-titled album Miki Howard, which included some of her most iconic songs such as Ain't Nothin' in the World and Love Under New Management. These songs climbed the charts and cemented her place among the top R&B female artists of the time. Her work was recognized by the industry, earning her a Grammy nomination, and she developed a reputation for her rich vocals and deeply personal songwriting. Throughout her career, Miki remained known not just for her talent, but for her close ties within the music world. One of the most notable relationships from that period was her professional connection to Joe Jackson, the patriarch of the Jackson family. In the 1980s, Joe Jackson managed Miki, helping her navigate the music industry and further develop her career. This management relationship created a strong but quiet link between Miki and the Jackson family, a link that would later fuel much speculation about her son, Brandon. Despite the high-profile connections and the constant presence of celebrities, one detail of Brandon's life remained hidden. No one officially confirmed the identity of his father. The subject was never openly discussed. Fans and journalists speculated, especially given Joe Jackson's involvement in Miki's career and the striking similarities between Brandon and a certain pop icon. But nothing was ever publicly acknowledged. Rumors quietly circled in the background of Brandon's life, growing louder as he got older and started his own music career. Yet in public, there was only silence. Brandon himself did not push the narrative forward. Miki remained focused on her music and did not confirm or deny the stories. It was as if the truth, whatever it was, had been locked away behind the curtains of fame. When no clue about his father could be found, not even from his childhood, everyone turned their attention to Miki Howard, hoping she might finally say something and break the long silence. A mother's silence, a family's denial. People wanted clarity. If no proof could be found from Brandon's childhood or through genetic testing, perhaps Miki would finally break her silence and settle the mystery once and for all. But her response surprised many. When asked directly about the DNA claims and the rumors surrounding Michael Jackson, Miki Howard delivered a firm and personal denial. She said, "I am Brandon Howard's father." The statement was both confusing and powerful. Her choice of words seemed intentional, expressing her sense of ownership over her son's life and her role in raising him, without giving in to the speculation. It was not a literal declaration, but more a reflection of the burden she had carried for years. By making that statement, Miki emphasized that she had been the one raising Brandon, protecting him, and guiding him through a life that was filled with public curiosity and unwanted attention. The rumors, she said, were hurtful, not just to her, but to her son as well. Miki also revealed that there had been a non-disclosure agreement in place involving the Jackson family. She suggested that this legal document had been used as a protective measure. Her words were careful, hinting at past connections and complicated relationships, but not confirming anything. The existence of a non-disclosure agreement only deepened the mystery, making some believe there was more to the story, something hidden behind legal silence. While Miki remained guarded, another voice stepped forward. Augie Johnson, a well-known vocalist and music arranger who had once sung backup for Michael Jackson, claimed that he might be Brandon's biological father. Johnson stated that he had a relationship with Miki Howard around the time Brandon was conceived, and that he had always considered Brandon to be his son. Augie Johnson's claim added a new layer to the puzzle. Unlike many others, He did not seem interested in the media frenzy. He appeared genuine in his belief and spoke openly about his connection to Brandon. His statement challenged the more sensational theories and shifted the conversation in a more grounded direction. Yet even with these developments, the Jackson family remained silent. No public comments were made. No confirmations or denials came from their side. Their silence left room for more speculation, but it also made clear that they had no interest in engaging with the rumor. For them, it seemed the matter was either irrelevant or something they had chosen not to acknowledge. Throughout this storm of attention, Brandon stayed quiet. He did not feed the media with fresh claims or emotional interviews. His mother had spoken. A man who believed he was the father had spoken. The Jacksons had chosen not to speak. And Brandon, once again, stood in the middle, surrounded by noise but choosing to remain still. But just when it seemed like the mystery had reached a dead end, another twist emerged. The second test, and the note that changed everything. Even after the first DNA controversy had crumbled under scrutiny, whispers continued to circulate in hushed tones. Many believed that Brandon Howard had not given up the search for answers. Behind the scenes, away from media frenzy, it was rumored that he quietly pursued a second DNA test. This time, the whispers claimed, he went through a more reputable and confidential channel, one allegedly linked to Michael Jackson's private physician. This second test was said to be far more discreet, handled with care and guarded by individuals who had once been close to Michael. According to the scattered reports and online discussions, Brandon did receive results from this process. But that was not all. Some sources claimed that along with the results, he also received a sealed envelope. Inside it, they said, was not just data or medical notes, but something more personal, what many interpreted as a handwritten message from Michael Jackson himself. The idea of a letter from Michael stirred intense curiosity and emotion among fans. It suggested a quiet acknowledgement, perhaps even a private truth meant only for Brandon. The thought that Michael, known for his privacy and love for secrecy, may have left behind a message changed the tone of the discussion. It introduced a deeply human element to a story long dominated by gossip and speculation. However, no public documents have ever confirmed the existence of this second test or the envelope. There are no credible sources who have stepped forward to verify the claims. No medical records, lab results, or statements from professionals involved have surfaced to support this version of events. What exists are only rumors, passed along through online posts and casual conversations. Alleged videos have appeared on platforms like YouTube and Facebook. These videos claim to contain clues, blurry footage, screenshots of documents, or vague statements by anonymous individuals. But none of them provide real proof. Many of the videos are poorly sourced, with inconsistent timelines and unverifiable claims. Still, they continue to attract attention, especially among those who believe that the truth is being kept hidden. Some fans view the story of the second test and the mysterious note as a final chapter in Brandon's journey. They believe that even if the world never sees the proof, Brandon may already know the truth for himself. Others remain skeptical, seeing the story as another layer of myth added to an already complicated narrative. Brandon, true to form, has said nothing publicly about this second test. If it happened, he has chosen to keep it private. He has not released any statements, documents, or responses to the rumors. And just when the world thought the mystery would never be solved, Brandon gave an answer, one that was as surprising as it was final. When the truth isn't enough. Finally, Brandon Howard had to make a quiet and deliberate choice. He did not step further into the spotlight. He did not call for more tests, nor did he push for legal recognition or pursue any claim to the Jackson estate. Instead, he began to distance himself from the growing noise. Despite years of whispers, tabloid stories, and online theories, Brandon chose not to build his life around the controversy. His actions sent a clear message. He did not want the fame or fortune that could come from tying his name to Michael Jackson. He was not interested in lawsuits, attention, or headlines. The road he took was one of silence, a path that suggested he valued personal peace more than public validation. Reports from various outlets such as BET, E! and Essence painted a consistent picture. Brandon was never the one fueling the rumors. In every moment when he could have cashed in on the story, he stepped away. Even after DNA tests, press conferences, and widespread media attention, he offered no further comment. Some close to him hinted that his focus had always been on music, not the mystery. He had built his own career, worked with major artists, and developed his sound. The endless comparisons to Michael, the constant questions about his father, these were shadows he had learned to live with, but never welcomed. The truth, it seems, may not have mattered as much to Brandon as it did to the public. He may have known the answer all along, or he may still live with the uncertainty. But rather than chasing proof or trying to control the narrative, he walked away from the firestorm. This decision left the story unresolved. There was no final reveal, no public confirmation or denial. The mystery remains, suspended in time. And in the absence of answers, the question that remains is a deeply human one. If you discovered your entire identity might be built on a lie, would you risk tearing it all down just to find the truth? Or would you choose peace and walk away? For Brandon Howard, the answer seems clear. He chose not to let the rumors define him. Whether or not he is the son of the world's most famous pop star, he has carried himself with quiet dignity. The story may never have a conclusion that satisfies the public. Instead of dreading the past and wasting time on baseless and meaningless arguments, Brandon made a bold choice to take control of his own narrative and move forward on his own terms. Carving his own path, Brandon Howard has quietly but confidently carved out his space in the music world. While many know him for the speculation surrounding his connection to the Jackson family, those who take a deeper look see a gifted singer, songwriter, and producer whose talent speaks louder than any rumor ever could. Howard has committed himself to his craft and steadily built a career defined by creativity, not controversy. His musical journey took off in Japan, where he released his debut album Genesis in 2010. The project was not only well received by critics, but also found strong commercial success. Japan's music market can be difficult for foreign artists to break into, but Howard's blend of soulful melodies, sleek production, and genuine artistry struck a chord. It became clear early on that he was more than just a familiar face. He had something real to say through music. In 2016, Howard made a strong impression in the American market when his single Don't Say You Love Me climbed to number 11 on Billboard's Dance Electronic Songs chart. This achievement proved that his success was not limited to overseas audiences. He had the potential to make waves in the United States as well, especially among fans of electronic, pop, and R&B music. But even with growing recognition, Howard was never content to rest on early success. Instead of dreading the past and wasting time on baseless and meaningless argument, Brandon made a bold choice to focus entirely on his future. In a 2023 interview, he discussed working on a high-profile U.S. debut project that would reintroduce him to American audiences with a fresh sound and clear artistic identity. One of the most anticipated elements of this new chapter is his upcoming EP, Official. Howard described this project as a turning point, a statement of who he is now and what he wants to represent. While Genesis captured the energy of his early career, Official is expected to reflect his evolution as an artist who has matured both personally and musically. Howard's musical philosophy centers on global influence and individual expression. He has often spoken in interviews and on platforms like TikTok about how R&B has changed over the years. He emphasizes melody, studio craftsmanship, and staying true to your sound rather than chasing what's trendy. He encourages up-and-coming artists to explore who they are creatively and to put that into their music. Beyond music, Howard is also passionate about giving back. His Instagram feed highlights his outreach work with youth. He has visited schools and college campuses while speaking with students about creativity, overcoming obstacles, and pursuing their passions. This dedication to uplifting others shows a deeper purpose behind his public presence. Howard is not just chasing fame, but aiming to inspire. That impact is now being recognized in a major way. B. Howard will soon be inducted into the California Music and American Entertainment Hall of Fame. This prestigious honor acknowledges his significant contributions to songwriting, production, and performance. It marks a milestone in his journey, proof that his years of hard work and creative risk-taking are earning him a lasting place in the music industry. Interestingly, despite this momentum, Howard has no scheduled live concert dates for 2025, according to Songkick. However, this seems less like a lull and more like a deliberate move. His social media activity hints that he is focusing intensely on studio work, preparing for a wave of new music and collaborations. His recent posts speak of global energy and incredible vibes, suggesting he's experimenting with new sounds and pushing boundaries. This period of creation, rather than touring, could be setting the stage for his next big leap. It's not uncommon for artists to step back from performing to refine their message and prepare for a more meaningful release. If his previous work is any indication, the music that comes next will be authentic, dynamic, and deeply personal. B. Howard's story is one of resilience and reinvention. He could have let rumors define him. He could have let early fame fade into memory. But instead, he chose to shape his legacy with intention and strength. As he enters this new chapter, he stands not just as an artist, but as a role model for anyone seeking to rise above noise and create something lasting and meaningful. His path is his own, and he's walking it with clarity, purpose, and an unwavering commitment to authenticity and growth. What are your thoughts on this uncanny resemblance between B. Howard and the king of pop himself? Do you believe it's all just a coincidence? Or is there more to the story than meets the eye? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Click on the cards on screen for more.